Hello everyone, I'm Undead Horde here on YouTube and welcome back to my channel, and we have something new and exciting to talk about. This is the newest account. I have made mention to this account several times over the last couple of weeks in videos, and I am ready to introduce it and the new idea. As you can tell, this account is just straight up new. I mean, new. Literally the only thing I did was complete through the tutorial, and then I stopped basically touching it. Other than that, I cracked one or two more mystery shards, and that was it. We will take a look. Here are the champions. I mean, Gaelic is still at level 1 with just this. I cracked one mystery shard, and that's it. The important thing to note, though, is we will not be needing these two. And we will be cracking more mystery shards here in a moment. But first thing is first. What is the account? Well, actually, the first thing is this is going to be a longer video. This is a rules video, at least for the first part of the account. There will be no gameplay happening. This is just I'm on the account, just kind of show it, make sure that people understand where the account is at when starting. But this is strictly just a rules video and setting up the guidelines for the challenge ahead. Alright. Also, I do want to make mention about this early on. I am doing my recordings now more in a comfortable way for me, so on the couch. But that also happens to be right by 2 bedroom doors, my daughter's and my bedroom. So if you hear some coughing in the background, I do apologize. We're just getting, or some of them are getting a little sick. So, and so just try to ignore the best you can. Hopefully it doesn't come through on the mic. They're behind closed doors. I mean, I can hear them pretty clear, but it doesn't mean that the mic necessarily can pick them up. So, but if you do hear it, that's what's going on, and I do apologize. Anyways, the account. So, when I was on Discord, or one night I was thinking, and something had dawned on me. The idea of a really restricted and controlled account. And I thought, interesting. And I started toying around with the concept a little bit. But then it grew, and it grew at a very rapid rate. And we had a conversation inside the Discord for like an hour. Talking about the possibility of the account and kind of getting a bit of an understanding about what could happen. And so, over the last couple of weeks, I have been slowly putting together the pieces, and I've been playtesting this and things like that, and trying to figure out more and more so I can at least get to a good starting point so I can actually start recording and posting videos. The official name is technically Wheel of Chaos. As you will see inside of, well, there will be a special intro to these videos. It will not be a part of this video, but any video after this one will have it. But the official name that I originally came up with was Wheel of Chaos, because there's going to be a lot of wheels involved in some way, shape, or form. But how somebody else on the Discord had put it as, is this like a masochist account? And so you can kind of look at it as both. The general concept is to use a lot of like wheels and randomness, but at the end of the day, this is like a masochist's dream, I guess, of how to play this game. And it's very cruel and very unusual to do to somebody. and I only recommend doing it if you truly, truly, truly enjoy a challenge. Or maybe if you could see if you can beat some of my times and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Goodness. So, like I said, this is a very heavily restricted account. It is restricted through a series of challenges. And so I had to basically break down each area of the game. Well, I'm still working on some of the areas. But the general concept is each area of the game is going to be blocked by, like I said, by a series of challenges. And you have to be able to break through those challenges to progress inside of each of those areas. And so the first area that we're going to focus on is the main area. Well, the main area when you first start in the account is campaign. And we will only be focusing on campaign for quite a long time. Well, for the first 12 videos, because I'm going to do one video on each campaign stage or location. I prefer to say location in this situation. Okay? So what is then the rules of the campaign? They're very simple. I, as the player or owner of the account, I'm so bad with words. I'm so sorry. I have no script. I'm just kind of doing this off the top of my head. I have all the rules written up. I just never really scripted out how to talk about it. But I just talked about this the other day with my friend who was over. And I did a much better job. But I just wonder if the recording is making me more nervous than anything. Basically, the concept... So... Reset. I'm here. The challenge. Each location is blocked by a challenge. By the same set of rules for the challenge. Okay? There is... And also with subsequential restrictions. The challenges to move on from each location are every stage has to be 3-starred. That's pretty simple. I must receive one copy at least of every single unit drop before I can move on. And so if that didn't make any sense, or to reiterate, I must get a drop of every single one of these champions. And until I do that, I cannot move on into the next stage. And if I get the champion, say from like a mystery shard or like a rare shard or whatever, that does not count. I have to physically have it drop. And that's the only way it will be accepted. Also, I must receive a 3-star artifact of each artifact available. And that's it. Pretty simple, right? And those each have to be repeated on every single stage or every single location inside campaign. So I cannot move on to the next location until all of those steps have been completed. Sounds easy, right? Well, and that's what I thought. It's still just a little too easy. Because you could get a good rare character and you could just grind. Pretty easily just grind through without really a thought in the world and get some pretty good speeds eventually and stuff like that. But that felt way too easy. Way too easy. And so there is the restrictions of the account Some are location, or some is campaign specific, and some is like game specific. So for campaign specific, well, I should say this. Every single champion is locked, or every single faction is locked to me. The only characters I am allowed to use currently is Gaelic, but only in a very limited way. And I will allow myself to use 2 other champions, and we will discuss why those 2 other champions. They are of the Bannerlord faction, because the restriction is for campaign is I can only beat through each campaign location with their specific type of champions, right? So Carrot Castle is Bannerlords, Sewers of Arnak, I believe, are Lizardmen, Catacombs of Narbuk is Undead Horde, Durham Forest is Dark Elves, so on and so forth. You guys get the concept. So I can only use champions that are related to the campaign location. But again, that also became way too easy. And so it became even more restrictive. I can only use common champions to beat through it. That again was also too easy. I can only use common champions of a 0.5 star rating on Hell Hades. That is the lowest rating a champion can have. I can use any amount of those champions that I want. So if there happens to be 4, then I could technically use all 4 if I wanted to. It'll be hard to 3-star at that point. Actually, it's impossible, but I could do it. So, for Bannerlords specifically, there is 2 champions that I'm allowed to use. Sorry, that is the wrong thing. Okay? The 2 champions I am allowed to use are Pikeman. And he has attack one enemy, has a 15% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn, with a crap ton of skill ups, by the way. And the second one is Bandit. And Bandit has attack one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff for 1 turn. Okay? So these are the only 2 champions I'm allowed to do to officially beat through a stage. If a stage is beat not using these champions, it does not count. But that's fine, because the only stage that'll be beat at first, actually the only 2 stages that get beat at first are the first 2 stages. But I will just go back through and complete them again with using those champions. Now, I will say this much. If I can beat it with just pikemen, then I can beat it with just pikemen. If I have to beat it with both them, then I have to beat it with both them. As long as the 3 stars are required, it doesn't matter how I do it. Otherwise, as long as it's just those 2 champions involved. Where Gaelic comes in, and why I chose Gaelic, because Gaelic is the worst of the 4 starting champions. Technically speaking, Elhain, Aethel, and Gaelic all share a 3-star rating on Hell Hades. So according to Hell Hades, they're technically rated the same, and Kale's a 3.5. But in reality, gameplay-wise, and I've talked to a bunch of people about this, and obviously, like, I've heard YouTubers talk about it and stuff like that, Gaelic is the worst. He is absolutely, by far and away, the worst of the 4 champions. And that's why I picked him to use. Originally speaking, I was going to leave it up to a wheel spin, But that also meant that later on I could have access to too strong of a champion, and I didn't want that to be the case. So I did forcefully use Gaelic. And I can use Gaelic only on stage 1 to help grind through for mystery shards and to help gain levels on the champions. And that's it. Now, there is still more restrictions that I will get to present. The next restriction is for the champions, is that they are only allowed to use 1 and 2 star artifacts. So basically 2-star artifacts, because why would I use a 1? Realistically speaking, if I have 2 available to me. I can use 1 and 2-star artifacts, and there is no cap to what level they can be. So if I want to bring them all the way up to level 16, I am free to do so. The reason why I say that is because later on there will be a cap on the levels of artifacts that are 3-star and above. So, yay. So I can only use 1 and 2-star artifacts, but also I cannot use an artifact until I've made it to that stage. Or until I've cleared through that stage, except for stage 1. I do have to use a weapon to have enough stats to get through stage 1, and this has been tested several times. Maybe there's a world in which if I had and I would really have to test this. Maybe there's a world if I had all of the levels, all of the ranks, or all the skill ups, then maybe it could happen. With that and some RNG, possibly, but I doubt it, and I really, with how the skill situation is, I really don't want to have to rely on that being the case, so I will allow the weapons on stage 1 before I officially beat it. But for every single stage after that, I have to be able to beat through the stage first before I'm allowed to unlock that artifact and use it on a champion. Yay. Once I have 3-starred every single stage, then I am allowed to use the 3-star artifacts of that campaign location. Okay? Also, every single artifact is locked to me, except for life artifacts. And other artifacts will get unlocked as I beat through their stages of the campaign. So once I make it to the sewers of Arnok, then I am allowed to use the life artifacts that I've unlocked, but then I can also start using the offensive ones as I beat through. And like I said, once I have completely 3-starred every single stage, then I can start using 3-star versions of those artifacts. And that's it. I cannot go any higher than 3-star. I will be able to unlock 4, 5, and 6-star later on. But it'll be a while before then, so I'm not going to talk about that. Now, you might be asking yourself, this is supposed to be a very random wheel based, where are the wheels? Well, I'm so glad you asked, commenter. The wheel system is horrific and has made things an absolute nightmare, and I've tested this so many times. So I have a wheel spin restriction on skills and on ranking up a champion. Well, what do you mean? Let me explain. Once a champion, so we'll use Bandit or pikeman or whoever as an example here. Okay, let's throw them up on screen. We might as well, right? Have a different change of scenery here. So we've got pikemen, right? Say if pikeman here reaches level 10. Okay, he's a little 1-star, he reaches level 10. Once he does that, I must spin a wheel that will say yes or no. And that yes or no is determining on whether or not I'm allowed to rank him up to his next rank, which will be level, obviously, 2. If the wheel says yes, then I rank him up and I go on my merry way. If the wheel says no, I am not allowed to get a second chance at spinning that wheel until I beat through another stage of the campaign. So say if during stage 1, and it will happen, during stage 1 I hit level 10, and I spin a wheel and it says no, then I do not get another opportunity at spinning a wheel to rank him up until I beat through stage 2. And this beat through stage 2, 3-star. Not just beat through, I have to receive, no. It's just beat through the stage. That's it. It doesn't have to be 3-starred. It just has to be beat through the stage. Once I beat through the stage, then I can respin, and so on and so forth. And that's the restriction on every single champion that I used. So also for bandit as well. That means there's technically a situation in which I have to beat through all of the first campaign location with only using level 10s. I could get no on every single spin in theory. So at most, before beating through, so like up until stage 7, I have 7 chances at being able to rank up a champion. Now I will say this. Once a champion gets to its max level, I get 1 automatic spin to get that chance. Then the failsafe is by beating through the stages. So if he say he goes level 10 on stage 1, it spins no. But I go around stage 2, I beat stage 2, I spin it and it says yes. Great. Then while beating through stage 3, he becomes level 20. I will get a free spin on that stage to see if I can rank him up to 3-star. But if it says no, and I've already beaten through stage 3, well then I'm crap out of luck. I cannot use beating through stage 3 as like a backup spin. I have to be able to beat through stage 4. And that's how the ranking up system works. For now. This is just for going through the campaign. Now for skills. Skills will be the exact same way. Kind of. Well, not really, but kind of, right? How skills work are for common and uncommons. Once I summon a duplicate of that champion, so I've got pikeman and I summon a second pikeman, right? Well, then I will spin a wheel. And the wheel will say yes or no about whether or not I'm allowed to feed that skill or feed the duplicate into the champion to upgrade their skill. If the wheel says no, then I must put that champion off to the side, the duplicate off to the side, until I pull another copy. And it doesn't have to be like pull. If it comes from a drop, then that'll work. If I buy it from the market, that'll work. I just have to receive another copy of that champion to gain another opportunity. So say I've accumulated now 3 duplicates. It said no 3 times in a row. I have now gained 3 duplicates. And then the wheel, then I get a 4th one, right? Well, now I spin the wheel again and it says yes, I can use a skill up. Well, then I go down to a secondary wheel. That secondary wheel will then have numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 because of the amount of skill up, or the amount of duplicates that I have. So just because I spin yes doesn't mean I get to use all 4. I have to then spin again to see how many I'm allowed to actually use. If it says 4, then great, I can use all 4 of them. If it only says 1 though, then I can only skill up 1 time until I receive another duplicate and have to then hit yes again on that duplicate for the skill up and then respin for how many I'm allowed to use. And that's how you really, really make a game very difficult. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? The biggest issue with this challenge that I have run into, and it's not a shocker at all, is energy. Energy is a huge, huge problem in this game, especially for a challenge like this, because you have to repeat and run through the same thing constantly. And so it eats up so much energy. And that will forever and always be like the hardest part of this game, or hardest part of this challenge. I mean, obviously speaking, there's ways of receiving more energy. It'll just end up eating up resources or whatever. But this could also take this challenge days, because I could just have to wait until like I get a daily login reward for more energy or things like that. So what I will be doing throughout this challenge is, so each video for the first 12 will be on like a location, right? And so video 1 will be on Carrick Castle, and I will have a bunch of information up there. I will have how many attempts like how much energy I spent beating through the challenge, like how many days it took, how many hours it took to complete through it. It'll have like a bunch of stuff just to kind of be like, this is ridiculous. I will also be live streaming through some of this, just so that people can like watch on the live stream, since not a lot of it is going to be like recorded. I'm not as good, like I'm not great at all with like video editing and stuff like that. Like some people would be like, oh, they do like a montage of a bunch of stuff. I just don't really have that in me to do. And so what I find to be a lot easier and better content wise is to just do a live stream of me grinding through and working on it. And so that it'll all be out there. You will physically see on the live stream everything that I'm doing, and I will do everything on the live stream so that there's no ifs, ands, or buts. People can scrub through that footage. So basically each video will just be kind of like in a way like an update video, but it'll be like a very like heavy informational type style and whatever else. I'll make it good. I'll make a good content hopefully out of it. And so yeah, this is the start of this challenge. I have some information in the works for how dungeons are going to work, but we will get there when we get there, because, and I didn't mention this beforehand, I don't know why, but maybe people picked up on it, dungeons are completely locked. I cannot go inside of the dungeons until I have beaten every single stage of the campaign 3-starred. Then dungeons will unlock to me. So yeah. Also I will say this, because this will come up at some point in time and I will just take care of it now. If there is like an area in which there is no a champion with a 0.5 rating, then I will just use the lowest rated champion that I can. So typically it would probably be like a 1-star. And I will only allow myself to then use one champion. So if I have to use like a 1-star champion, then I can, or a 1 like rated champion, then I can only use that one. I can only use multiples if they have a rating of 0.5. But anything else, I'm only allowed to use one copy. This will be incredibly difficult, and it may not even be 100% possible. As we get later and later and later into the stages, there is a chance that I may have to tweak the rules because things are blatantly just impossible to do. So we'll have to see what that looks like when we get there. I mean, I could test, and I will do the best that I can to test certain things as I go along and see. And see like their possibility. I mean, if there's a way to like, I mean, if I have access to 3 stars, and I'll figure it out as I get there, but it could get impossible at some point in time. And so if that's the case, we will tweak the rules. But a train is coming, and I don't think I've got much more to say on this subject. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit the comment. Please hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And let me know what you think about the challenge down below. Peace.